The story begins in 2045 with a girl named Emma, who has lived in the Gracefield House orphanage since she was born. The institution is run by a woman whom everyone calls Mama, and she is responsible for the orphans. But as Emma is already 15 years old, she also helps take care of the younger ones, along with the other two teenagers, Norman and Ray. After the children study, they are allowed to play in the garden, but they cannot go beyond the orphanage gates. Each of them has a tattoo on their neck with their identification number, and the maximum age to stay in Gracefield is 16 years. However, from time to time, one of the younger ones is adopted by a family, and today is the day for little Connie. Everyone says goodbye to the girl with affection, making the older ones think their time to leave is also approaching. Excited to see the world outside, Emma and Norman agree to write letters to each other. When the hall is empty, Emma notices that Connie forgot her favorite toy, a stuffed rabbit. Ray warns that the lights at the gate are still on, and, if Emma runs, she can make it there in time to deliver the rabbit to its owner. Ray reminds them that it's prohibited to walk out so late at night, but Emma's sadness convinces him to break the rules. They dash across the garden while Ray watches them from the balcony, anxious. Soon the two arrive at the dark gate area and feel afraid when they see that no one is around, only a truck parked. Emma pulls back the curtain to peek and is so shocked by what she sees that she drops the rabbit. Norman comes to her and also panics upon seeing Connie lying in the back of the truck, apparently lifeless, with some sort of flower protruding from her chest. Hearing a noise, the two duck under the vehicle and hide in silence. It is then that a colossal paw steps on the ground right in front of them, revealing the presence of horrendous demons who speak of the orphanage as a kind of breeding ground and praise the taste of the flesh of these orphans. After placing Connie in a crate, one of them complains about her age and asks when they can come to fetch those three older ones. The person who responds is Mama, and Emma is devastated to find out that she is selling the children as demon food. When one of the monsters sniffs something strange and decides to check under the truck, he only finds the rabbit because Emma and Norman are already far away. Mama becomes suspicious upon seeing the toy and takes it back to the dormitory afterward. The next day, Emma struggles to keep a smile, still horrified by the discovery, and starts to connect the dots. Now she knows the reason for so many strict rules, beyond the fact that no one really writes letters after leaving. She and Norman cross the barrier in the garden for the first time and are disappointed to arrive at a towering wall. The two plan to escape the orphanage before the demons return, but they don't want to leave anyone behind, and still don't know how they will get everyone out. Norman decides not to tell the truth to the others until the two have a getaway plan. Suddenly they hear a commotion and return to the garden, where a girl is crying because her friend has gone missing in the woods. Calmly, Mama consults an object that looks like a compass and walks straight into the woods, bringing the lost girl back in her arms. Emma deduces that the object shows the location of the residence, and Norman guesses that they have a tracker in their ear. This means Mama saw them beyond the fence a little while ago and must have shown that object specifically to intimidate them. Distrustful of so many whispers, Ray follows his friends into the woods, and they end up telling him everything. He agrees to escape with them, but thinks it's risky to take everyone along, especially since nobody knows what the outside world is like, and it may be full of demons. The three decide to investigate first, and end up discovering in the library several books donated by someone named William Minerva. With the help of Little Phil, they find out that the stamp is in Morse code, being different for each volume. Ray also deduces that the demons are keeping an eye on their brains, which is why Mama makes them study so much. That afternoon, Mama introduces everyone to her new assistant, Sister Crone. When they are alone, Mama informs her that 3 residents discovered the truth, and Crone becomes anxious, as in these cases, protocol requires the immediate delivery of the intruders. Mama reacts firmly and forbids her subordinate from reporting her, saying that they just need to keep an eye on the kids for a few weeks until the next delivery. The next day, Emma and her friends start training the younger children for escape without them knowing, disguising the activities as if they were games. Everything goes well until Crone shows up wanting to join in on the tag game. Unfazed, Emma tells Norman that this is a chance to spy on her back, getting to know the enemy better. What they don't know is that Crone has her own secret plan. She intends to expose the irregularities at Gracefield to the demons and take Mama's place. She gives it her all during that recess, but soon realizes she is dealing with exceptional children and even asks the head about it. receiving no answers. A few days later, Norman begins to think that there is a spy among the residents and says it's time to reveal the secret little by little, starting with the oldest, Dawn and Gilda. Dawn initially refuses to believe and even punches Ray out of rage, but Gilda trusts Emma and helps convince her friend. Norman tells Emma and Ray that he has hidden 2 ropes in different places, revealing one to each of the new recruits. If one of them goes missing, it means they found the spy. However, the next day, he reveals that the places were switched and says that the traitor is actually Ray. The boy admits guilt and explains that he offered himself for this service years ago after discovering the secret. In exchange for the information, Mama promised to keep him in the orphanage until the age limit, as well as smuggle treats from the outside world. Despite the indignation, Norman observes that the real rope is still in place, and therefore Ray hasn't told Mama everything he knows. He explains that the friendship among them has made him change his mind, saying that all this is part of his plan as a double agent. In fact, he is the one who stole Connie's rabbit, knowing that this would lead to this discovery. Furthermore, he claims he has seen the transmitters of the ear implants and assures that he knows how to neutralize them. Emma forgives her friend without hesitation and even feels pity for everything he went through. Norman also chooses to see the bright side, as Ray can help them more than anyone. Later, he shows Norman everything he has been gathering under the floor of the room so that he can turn off the transmitters and says that he is just waiting for the order for tomorrow. Without Emma around, he repeats his opinion about who to take with them, saying that it is madness to try to free everyone. He suggests that Norman deceive Emma, pretending he agrees with the group escape so that she will cooperate until the end. But then, Norman reveals his feelings for the girl, saying he could never make her cry. Later, Ray tells Mama that Norman is going to try to poison her with insecticide and detergent. She thanks him for the information, but also informs him that the next delivery will be in January, just when Ray turns 16. Dawn and Gilda join the trio, and the group continues plotting the escape until Crone appears with a strange proposal. She shows them that she also has a tattooed number, as well as a scar on her chest, where the transmitter was inserted, which can fry her in seconds as soon as she steps outside. Without hopes of being free, all she wants is to lead a good breeding ground, and their escape is her chance to dethrone Mama. As a sign of good faith, she reveals that Mama's real name is Isabella, and that this breeding ground is Unit 3. Crone leaves, inviting the youth to seek her out tonight if they want more information. Emma doesn't trust her and advises caution to everyone, but she agrees to the visit. In Crone's room, she admits that she has never seen the outside world, but knows things came to this point because of a long war between humans and demons. When territories were finally separated, some humans were left behind as part of the deal, managing the production of humans for consumption. Crone is surprised to notice that the rebels already knew about the ear transmitters and becomes upset when they leave without giving her anything concrete against Mama. The order Ray was expecting is a camera, and when he goes to fetch it, Mama reminds him again that he only has 2 more months to live. He calls everyone for a group photo and tells his friends that he already has everything he needs for the plan. Distrustful of all this, Crone inspects the dormitories unexpectedly, and Gilda sees her checking Phil's piggy bank. She warns the others, and they rush to change the places of all the pieces they are gathering, hiding them in the same piggy bank that she already checked. However, Crone suspects the space under the floor and decides to check everything again, starting with the piggy bank. She is already sticking her hand inside when Mama suddenly arrives, and Phil takes the opportunity to reclaim the toy. Crone becomes distraught upon receiving news from Mama about her immediate transfer. Upon leaving, she hides a pin in the dormitory. Reaching the gate, she encounters the sinister Granny and begins to tell her everything about Grace Field and the rebels, wanting to harm her rival. However, Granny defends Isabella and hands Crone over to a huge demon that plants a flower in her chest. When the rebels finally put the plan into action, Ray is in charge of distracting Mama with the poisoning ruse, but she doesn't fall for it and locks him in a room. When she sees him leaving so fast with the tracker in hand, Dawn fears for his friend and runs to rescue him, arriving at the room just as Ray breaks the door down. Mama catches the fleeing duo at the foot of the wall and speaks honestly with them for the first time. She says she loves all the children there, and that's why she gives them such a good life, hoping they die happy. Ignoring this justification, Emma lunges at her and ends up getting hurt because Mama breaks her leg. The other three arrive just as she is revealing that Norman's farewell will be tomorrow. He spends the day trying to control his despair and tells his friends that he would rather be eaten by demons than risk their escape. But Ray and Emma won't let him sacrifice himself. Emma asks how Ray discovered the terrible secret of Grace Field, and he says it was thanks to an unusual fact. Unlike most people, he was able to retain memories from his early years. For that reason, Ray still remembers being in a place called the Headquarters, where he saw demons along with several babies and adult humans. The gates of Grace Field lead to this place, and that's why there's no way to escape through there. After explaining all this, Ray hands Norman the neutralizer to use on his ear and try to escape by tomorrow. Even if he doesn't succeed, the plan is for him to hide and wait until Emma's leg heals, letting Mama think he really escaped. Returning to the dormitory, Norman opens the drawer next to his bed and finds that pen that Crone left there. The next morning, Mama announces Norman's departure during breakfast, and the children celebrate his adoption, asking him to write letters. The older ones struggle to hide their anger, as this is the first farewell in which they know the truth. When everyone is free to play outside, Don and Gilda accompany Norman to the fence, while Ray and Emma remain hidden in the garden. He crosses the forbidden zone and throws the rope over the wall, climbing to the top just as Mama is organizing an activity with the children. She soon realizes he is missing and seems surprised to check the tracker. But who is in for a bigger shock are the rebels at the sight of Norman emerging from the woods. At night, he explains that there is an abyss on the other side of the wall and draws what he was able to see from above, showing where a bridge is located so everyone can pass. When he returns the neutralizer saying he didn't get to use it, the other two realize that he intended to come back from the very start. Norman just pretended to accept their plan, but remained determined to sacrifice himself for his friends. Emma doesn't accept this, and even knocks him down in front of everyone when it's time for him to leave, pleading that he try to escape instead of surrendering. Norman refuses to listen to her and still promises to write letters, keeping the pretense in front of the other children to avoid causing trouble. Then Mama escorts him to the gates and steps back, telling him to wait there alone. Soon after, a man arrives who introduces himself as the supervisor responsible for the protection of this world. He explains that the demons need to feed on human brains to survive and thanks Norman for it, saying there is a human on the other side who can be free thanks to his sacrifice. Worried about his friends, Norman asks if there is no human out there who could be an ally for those created for slaughter. The man says yes, but they all disappeared, warning that annihilating them is part of his job. This doesn't have the expected effect, as Norman challenges the supervisor's trust and bets on the opposite. There must still be many humans who want to help those living in breeding grounds, and that hope is enough for him. The supervisor is forced to admit that Norman is a very special boy, for he maintains his calm and even smiles even when the demon comes to collect him. Ray and Emma are deeply shaken by his loss, with no energy to continue the escape plan. Ray gives the neutralizer to Don and Gilda, asserting that they can attempt it if they want, since he himself has no more hope. Mama pays a visit to Emma and says she will recommend her for a promotion, and she could also become a mama instead of turning into monster food. That way she could continue caring for children and helping others, which is her greatest talent. Emma is surprised by the offer but cannot betray her friends in that way and falls back into despair. Seeing all the rebels without strength to fight, Mama is pleased with the outcome, once again proving that her methods always work. 2 months later, Ray's birthday arrives, and Emma goes to speak with him in the middle of the night, with her leg already healed. They haven't talked much lately, as Mama has been watching them all the time, but now they both confess they haven't given up on escaping. Emma says she has assigned the tasks to Don and Gilda to avoid drawing attention to herself, and now everything is ready. She plans to escape the next day at lunchtime and says she will take all the residents with her, as was her intention from the beginning. Always stubborn, Ray says it won't work because Mama will be waiting for that, and shows Emma what he has planned. Ray's idea is simply to set the orphanage on fire right now in order to keep Mama occupied and make his superiors confuse the escape with an emergency evacuation. He explains all this to Emma while he spreads gasoline throughout the dining hall and leaves his friend in panic when he pours the last canister over himself. Ray is the best student in class, and his brain is so valuable that Mama won't occupy herself with anything else upon seeing him on fire. He strikes the match before Emma can stop him, and from the outside, we see the dining hall fill with flames shortly thereafter. The alarm starts to ring, and just as predicted, Mama rushes over at that very moment and panics when she sees on the tracker that Ray is right in the middle of the fire. The children start descending from their rooms, frightened, and Mama tells Gilda to take them outside while she searches for a fire extinguisher, completely focused on rescuing the brilliant boy. However, the fire has already spread too much, and she cannot put it out alone, no matter how hard she tries. Then Mama thinks of saving at least Emma, who is second in class, but when she starts yelling at her, she realizes the girl has already disappeared. Only now does she realize that the children weren't in their pajamas when they came down the stairs, as if they knew something was going to happen. By this point, they are already in the woods, where Don and Gilda have hidden everyone's bags. Ray is also with them, and we find out the fire didn't start when he struck that match. Emma managed to extinguish it before it fell to the ground and called the children to help her finish the rest, creating a kind of dummy to take Ray's place. The most difficult part was removing the transmitter from his ear, but this was crucial to finally deceive Mama. While the group runs towards the wall, Emma tells Ray what truly happened in those 2 months. Norman had already seen the gas cans and predicted that Ray would attempt to distract Mama with a fire. Therefore, he left a letter for Emma with all the instructions for her to be ready when that day came. Pretending to be depressed, Emma spent all this time coordinating the operation through Don and Gilda, revealing the secret to the other children little by little. The only ones left behind were the very little ones, but Emma left Phil in charge of organizing them as they grow up, and promised to come back to get them out before they reach the age for slaughter. Additionally, the little ones turn out to be very useful at this moment, as Mama is about to hunt the fugitives when they surround her, pretending to be scared and asking to be held. After struggling to shake them off, she warns her superiors that there has been a rebellion and asks them to send reinforcements. Meanwhile, the group of rebels is already at the top of the wall, and Emma is startled to hear the alarm of the headquarters ringing sooner than expected, but she still has one last trick up her sleeve. Only now does she tell Ray that they are not running towards the bridge, as that is what the enemies expect them to do. In the letter, Norman indicated the narrowest point of the abyss, and that is where Don shoots the rope to the other side, improvising a zip line. Emma is the last to go, and Ray is alarmed to see that Mama is already at the top of the wall, running in their direction. The two confront each other, and Mama confesses that she has been there before, as she thought about escaping when she was the same age, but the sight of the abyss and the dense forest made her give up. Emma responds that she is not leaving alone, and that even if there is no place for humans in the world, they can create one from scratch. Furious, Mama threatens to cut the rope before Emma reaches the other side, but she lacks the courage. After Emma's words, she remembers when she was young, and it is then we discover that Ray is her son. Regretful for everything she has done, she returns to the orphanage and asks forgiveness from the little ones. In the forest, Emma picks up the pen Norman left along with the letter and shows that there is a device hidden within it. Turning the two halves, she makes the pen project those stamps of William Minerva, as well as an owl that takes flight to guide them to a safe place. The next day, Isabella is sentenced for her negligence in allowing Emma and Ray to escape. Soon the evil creature arrives and uses the deadly flower on her chest. Meanwhile, the youths climb a hill, and from the top, they contemplate the vastness of the world that awaits them to be explored.